C'est vrai qu'ils sont tous là. Et là, il y a beaucoup de monde et d'autres, ils sont vite.
That was still cool, it's not the guys.
So he's so tough love. Oh, he's like the first man that he's going, God.
Hein?
It's starting
Ah,
down
il est mouillé.
there.
C'est là que tu vas marcher dessus pour aller au milieu. Ça, c'est au milieu, il est tout mouillé. Et du coup, là, il a trempé les deux. Ouais. Il a la tête dans le vide. Regarde la passerelle là, elle est comme ça. Ils sont tous à gauche, la passerelle elle penche.
He's backwards, right? He's pushing backwards.
Ça va, ça fait une bonne brochette. Hein. Ah, regarde là-bas, il y en a un qui saute.
Yeah, but look, now he's watching them.
He's back up? Oh, he came back up.
See, look.
They're fighting. Oh!
Ouais, il y en a un qui a voulu monter, l'autre l'a viré. Oh, l'autre l'a viré, ils sont partis tous les deux à l'eau. Regarde, hop, il ressort là.
Oh, yeah, he's trying to get it.
Regarde, ah oui. Tu regardes là, tout à droite.
Golden Gate Bridge in the background, guys. In the far distance, it's the famous Golden Gate Bridge. It's the world's largest suspension-held bridge. The captain of the boat, Michael, he said that there were 2 herds of sea lions out here this year. 2 different herds, 2 different jama'as of sea lions. No, they're asleep. They're not dead. They're sleeping, resting. Are sea lions allowed to eat? That's a good question. I would say that the ruling is going to be based off of the majority of their dwelling. Do they spend most time in the sea or most time on the land? If they spend the majority of the time in the sea, then they're going to take the ruling of seafood, which we know in Islam, which is permissible. أحل لكم صيد البحر وطعامه متاعا لكم من السيارة وحرم عليكم صيد البر ما دمتم حرما, as Allah says in Surah Al-Ma'idah. As far as if they're majority land animals, then it's going to go back to the ahkam of land animals. Are they predators? Are they considered to be khabith, mustakhbath, something filthy and foul? Okay, with regards to canine teeth, incisors, so on and so forth. So just by looking at them briefly, I doubt that they're land predators. It doesn't seem as if they have any type of carnivorous traits or canine teeth or anything like that. But the question remains, is it considered to be khabith or tayyib? Obviously, the majority of the body, or the majority of its makeup is going to be fat and blubber for obvious reasons. Insulation, buoyancy, so on and so forth, or whatever the case may be. So those are the basic dawabit, yani, the regulations for a land animal to be permissible or impermissible. Is it khabith? Does it hunt on land? Is it mustakhbath? Is it something which is clearly mentioned in the Quran and Sunnah to be haram? And if not, then it's going to go back to the permissible things to eat off of land. Clear, inshallah? So one could possibly say it's permissible to eat. And if it's a land animal or predominantly land animal, then it will have to be slaughtered properly. And it wouldn't be allowed to be taken on any circumstance like seafood. Wallahu alam. Says that's how I feel at the end of the week. Subhanallah. Bodins, they serve clam chowder and tomato soup in bread bowls. Jazakallah khairan, Abi. We'll try to check out that place. Feeding time or have they been fed? I don't know.
Regarde, il repousse en haut.
Oh, you can jump now.
Regarde, il pousse le gros.
You good, Abu Saeed? A brother, he posted, he said that's how I feel at the end of the week. Could have been a sister, I ain't sure.
Regarde, il fait chier tout le monde. Il
Subhanallah.
va aller faire chier le gros qui était tout sec. Le plus beau là-bas, c'est marrant. Il dure trop longtemps ce combat.
Yalla bismillah.
Yalla, bismillah. Question is, give us some advice in preparation of Ramadan. There are many different pieces of advice I could give myself first and foremost, let alone the viewers or the disciples. I would say a piece of advice that a lot of people overlook and they really don't, think about too much. Worldly advice, such as try to work as much as you can before Ramadan, put in extra hours, put in overtime for two main purposes. First purpose is, if you put in a lot of work before Ramadan, perhaps you can have more time off when Ramadan comes. And less work means less stress, more focus on ibadah, i'tikaf, Quran, sadaqah, and now all of the special things that you try to enhance and amplify when the month of Ramadan comes. And the second faida of putting in extra time and working harder before Ramadan, obviously in Sha'ban, is to have more money when Ramadan comes. And we all know the power of money in Islam. As the Messenger of Allah ﷺ has informed us about wealth which is wholesome, pure, blessed, salih, for a man who's righteous and pious and wholesome, and how it benefits a person, all right? So without money, there are many things that you can't do in the month of Ramadan, such as al-it'am, feeding people, sadaqah. Most Muslims, what do? They pay zakat in Ramadan. Okay, sponsoring the iftar. What is the virtue of making an iftar? Man fattara sa'iman. He who allows the fasting person to break his fast. So there are many acts of ibadah that you can't perform without money. And oftentimes people who work, they have to pay bills. You have expenses, kids need sneakers, clothes, so on and so forth. So you need extra money to do extra acts of ibadah, all right? Let alone Eid, okay? And allowing your children to have nice things on the Eid, and allowing your spouse to enjoy herself on the Eid, so on and so forth. So it's a very important piece of advice that we got from some of our Mashaykh in Medina that a lot of people don't pay attention to. And that is, they lose out on the worldly things too. So that's my advice, and it's worldly advice, is to make more money and to work harder before Ramadan. And the beauty of Islam and the deen of the Muslim is that everything worldly is going to translate to something religious. So the worldly advice is religious advice in actuality. So that's my advice, is to try your best to make as much money and put in as many hours right now. So when Ramadan comes, you have more money, and inshallah ta'ala, you have more time to focus on your ibadah. All right, that's the advice that I would give for Ramadan. Wallahu a'lam. Question. What's Mufti's favorite tea? Oolong or matcha? I have different teas that I like. Oolong is definitely one of my favorite. Matcha is very good. I like black teas as well though. Irish breakfast is one of my favorite. Of course, Earl Grey's, that's the staple classic. Everyone drinks that. English breakfast, but Irish breakfast is one of my favorite. Assam tea is very, very good. Another one of my favorite teas is Ceylon tea. Okay, so it depends on what type of mood I'm in. Or it could be white tea that we're drinking, all right? It all depends, but in most cases, oolong is in the flask. Wallahu alam. I'm 15 and you're my role model, Abdullah ibn Habib. May Allah bless you, akhi. May Allah keep you upon the path. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum. AA Brooklyn, New York. Sheikh, how does one authentic chain, how does one individual decide the narrators are reliable when there is different opinions regarding them? May Allah bless you. What do you say about that, Sheikh Ahmed? A question on Ilm al-Hadith in English.
I'll say no one should speak when Malik is in Medina.
La.
Mufti will give you the answer on that one.
We're going to be talking about that real soon. But alhamdulillah, the people of knowledge, they've spoken on this issue. The conditions for a hadith being maqbool, all right? Sharat qabul al-hadith. We've spoken on it many, many times before. At the end of the day, there are things in ilm al-hadith in which the scholars agree on, and there are things over which they differ. Sometimes they agree on the principle, but differ on its practice, its practical application. Sometimes they may differ on the principle itself. They don't agree that this is a shart or a qaida or a dabit. And other times they may agree on the principle, agree on the practice, but they may differ on the narrator himself. And that is why many rulings of ilm al-hadith are based off of al-ijtihad. Not all, but many. And that's why you have to know where you stand. Are you a student of knowledge that can look at these views and discern what's correct? Are you a follower and you go with the scholar that you trust the most? You go with the majority? That depends from person to person. At the end of the day, there are theoretical principles. The narrator has to be righteous. The narrator has to be pious, has to be just. The narrator has to have a good memory. The narrator can't be someone known with poor memory, etc. Those are the theoretical principles, and then there's a practice as well. Like we've explained in Tadhkira and Baykhuniya, Wallahu A'lam. Will you visit Medina again? Of course. Inshallah. Days here are Kashmiri pink tea. I'm not sure if I've had that before. What's the hukum? Practical steps on to acquire good manners. Is ask Allah, like the hadith says. Just like you've made my body beautiful and physically strong, fahasin khuluqi. Make my character good. And then you got to hang around good brothers, good sisters. You have to have very good company. All right, a flower can't be in the company of a weed. The weed is going to strangle the flower. So suhba salihah, yani, you got to have good character, all right? You got to hang around people that have good character, and inshallah that good character will become infectious and it'll wear off on you. And even if you're not good enough, but oftentimes you'll be too shy to do bad things in front of pious people, all right? Very important principle. What is the hukum on brothers with mental illness and premature ejaculation get married? As we mentioned before, the Quran and the Sunnah have the cure for all illnesses and sicknesses, spiritual, mental, and physical, directly or indirectly. Directly or indirectly. So if there's something that's ailing your body or your mind or your heart or your spirit, Islam has the answer, in general or specific. وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاء. So if you have a problem with that, get treatment, get help. Go to the specialist, all right? And see how they can help you out. Obviously in 2019, media, pornography and all these things, it's a bala, yani. It's a cancer. It's a poison. And many people have been affected by these things, unfortunately. So try your best to return back to Allah. And even if that's not the case, if you haven't been affected by those awful things, there has to be a cure. But you have to go back to the people who have that knowledge. Those who are specialists in Islam, and those who are specialists on these worldly issues as well. And make dua for Allah to allow you to be a good husband and give you the strength and the ability to please your wife in a manner which is permissible. Ameen.
Yeah, mashallah, Sheikh, you answering the people's question, always connected with da'wah and ilm, even on your vacation.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. There's no vacation.
Can we let the Sheikh rest a little bit, guys?
Allah,
he just got off a plane, man.
Subhanallah. How long was the flight, Abu Saeed?
6 hours and 15 minutes.
How long did you sleep?
An hour.
How long did I sleep?
5.
Subhanallah. I was exhausted this morning.
No vacation for talib ilm, huh?
Subhanallah.
We can't rest until our both feet are in paradise.
Listening to you from Medina University. Keep up the good work.
Allahu Akbar.
Mustafa Suwaidi. May Allah bless you. And bless all of the students in the struggle overseas. The struggle of seeking knowledge, remaining firm, feeding your family, taking care of yourself. It's a struggle.
I remember, Sheikh, we brought Sheikh Salih al-Ubaid here. We sat on the bench reading to him fiqh.
Allahu Akbar.
From the water.
Allahu Akbar. There's nothing better than that. Assalamu alaikum. Ali from Queens, New York. I love you for the sake of Allah. May Allah bless you and your family, all Muslims. Wa alaikum salam to Allah wa barakatuh. أحبك الذي أحببتنا فيه. Sheikh, is coffee a part of HadithDisciple culture? Of course. Of course. We like coffee. We enjoy coffee. Not as much as tea. Not as much as tea. But we've mentioned this. We've done 5 minutes to fight on coffee and the history of coffee, especially with the Muslims. How the Muslims were the founders of the usage of coffee.
Actually, the Sheikh, regarding coffee, some of the fuqaha, they mentioned that when you get married, if your wife is used to coffee, you have to provide it for her.
Allahu Akbar. Like that's from the nafaqah and the basic stuff.
Yeah.
So if your wife is a coffee drinker, you have to provide the coffee like a house, a roof over her head. That's deep. That's deep. Coffee is a part of the culture. Like we said, not like tea is, but I can enjoy coffee. I have friends who are experts at making coffee. Walillahi alhamd. Go back to the 5 minutes of fight that we did called Major Beans a couple years ago in New York City. We talked about how the Muslims started it and how the non-Muslims oftentimes are hypocritical. Muslims are terrorists. Muslims are... What would your morning be without coffee, though?
I'm a tea drinker myself. World War II Museum. Yes.
Inmate from the Bronx, New York. What should one do if their mother don't want food for them and this doing it because they refuse to go to? Now she mad and turning to kick the person out. What should she do? I'm not sure about the exact meaning of the question. If your mother don't want food for them, and Allahu Alam. ST, Brooklyn, New York. Is it permissible for a brother to spray dye on his beard and hairline to make it look like he isn't going bald or thinning? If it's black, it should be avoided. So the best thing to do is to avoid any type of dye, permanent or temporary, that's black. That's the safest view from among the ulama of Islam. And of course, there are different views from some fuqaha with regards to using black if you're married, if you're fighting in a law's cause, etc. But the safest view, the sunnah, is to avoid anything that's black. Then obviously, the spray is not like dye. It's not permanent. But I would say stay away from it. Allah knows best. So torpedo right there. They said it's the U.S. Pampanito. It's a World War II submarine. And they say that this submarine served in the Pacific and that it sunk 6 Japanese ships or imperial ships. They said 80 sailors lived on here, and it was only one shower. The boat captain, he told us, and Allah knows best, he says only 2 people were allowed to take showers on the ship, on a submarine. Two people. You know who those 2 people were? Who can guess the 2 people that were privileged to shower? You ready, Sheikh Ahmed?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, guys, we're leaving right now. The 2 people, the captain, he said it was the captain, of course, and it was the cook. They were the only people allowed to take a shower back then. Could you imagine that? It says here, captain and the cook. Good answer. Captain, vice captain, captain, and the serving boy, captain and co-captain, the driver. Nope. Nope. It was the captain and the cook. Good answer. All right, we're going to leave, inshallah. You guys enjoy the rest of your day or night or evening, whatever time zone you may be in. Look at that gun. A deck gun. Serious. Machine gun. Deep. Anti-aircraft gun. Serious. You can walk up there. Propeller. Let's go up there real quick. You want to?
It's not free.
Yeah?
Children falling under, you gotta pay.
Ah, okay. $20 admission. It's worth it though. You ready, Abu Saeed?
Engine fan, a propeller.
Look at that. Depth charge. A'udhu billah. Submarine's worst nightmare. Depth charge? They say more deadly than a torpedo.
Torpedo.
Yeah, they said a depth charge was worse. So make sure you guys tune in, inshallah, for the durus, the lectures, that we'll be doing out here with our brothers and colleagues in collaboration with Zidani Institute. And alhamdulillah, FYI, as they say, of course, all the names are beneficial. But me personally, and there's no flattery, and Allah knows, I think that it's the name itself is nice, Zidani. It rings well in English. And just the concept of giving me more. And it's probably one of the biggest things that we suffer from is the lack of hunger and thirst. We just want to suffice ourselves with, I studied Arabic, I got this ijazah, I memorized the Quran, and that's it. Which is an accomplishment, no doubt about that. But the concept of wanting more and never sufficing is with a little bit. Zidni. Wa qul rabbi zidni ilman, huh? And Allah knows best. So Allah give you all the tawfiq. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.